Hello, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. So exciting. It's so good to see you here. We've had this chat going on for like a couple of months, and we've had a lot of interesting ideas going back and forth, and then the day is finally here. So would you tell our audience a little bit about yourself? Who is Anna Kuusela?
Yes, sure. So first of all, thank you for having me. I've loved our chat over the past few months, and I'm glad that we finally made this happen. Um, so thank you for creating this. So indeed, my name is Anna Kuusela. I am originally from Finland, and now I've been in London for nearly 8 years. So this is my current home base. And I'm a ballet dancer from my background. So that's like my first passion in life. So I did that and I still dance. So dance and movement and yoga is a huge part of me and my life. But I also, well, some people, I actually went to study economics, and then from there I got to management consulting. So plan B. And I went to management consulting, and I was kind of thought that I'll do that for a few years. 10 years later, I did a huge career in there. Well, huge, but like it was a lot of stuff happened in that 10 years.
Yeah.
And 7 of those I was in London and serving fashion and luxury businesses, the big like transformational projects, which basically means that I was both looking at the strategy and then actually putting that into action. So very like hands-on stuff. But then I think I got into a place where I'm like, you know what? I think my heart is calling me to do something else. And I just felt the urge of creating something.
Yes.
And, sorry?
Yeah, it's very much like your background is very much creative business. But then you come from like that artistic, so it's like it's quite an interesting mix, but do continue.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I think, when I, like in a sense of like being in ballet, I think in that sense, I always was creative. But then when I was in business, yeah, of course, I was creating business models. Like, how does this business work? Yes, but I didn't maybe think that I'm that creative. But I started feeling the urge to create something and have a bigger impact. That was like 2 drivers, and these were those. And then I decided to start my own business.
Yes.
So in 2018, I left my job in London and started my business with the idea of I'm going to impact people. I want to create something. And that started kind of, narrowing down into, okay, I actually want to support women in particular, women empowerment. I want to speak to women because there's a lot of men, but sometimes, when women speak to women, there's just more power in that. So slowly and surely, I started kind of seeing like what's working, what do I really enjoy, what am I good at? And now I'm in a place where I have a brand called WanderWoman. My friend called me Wonder Woman because I'm always wandering. I love travel. I'm always like finding new things. I love adventure. So Wonder Woman is my brand. And within the Wonder Woman brand, I do a variety of things that I'm sure we will be discussing today as well. But really, it's all about like women empowerment. It's a big word, but in that there's like personal power, there's confidence, there's leadership, there's like your branding, just really helping women to be successful in life in their own terms. Yeah. So whatever is your style, being authentically you, and how can we work from that place? So please don't be like me, be the best version of you. That's what I want to really kind of unleash in people, and I seem to be pretty good at that. So I don't know, I'm just doing this work and I'm like, I can actually do this pretty well. So far so good. And now I'm just doing this globally, really. So my clients are everywhere, and with online, it gives us this opportunity. Like now you're in Finland, I'm in London, so I can do my work with wherever Wonder Women are.
Yes.
So that's it really.
Yeah, I think the name is fantastic. I was actually thinking of it yesterday. As for me, it feels that every time I contact you, you are at the airport or you are just flying out, or you're just about to fly in. And it's like the modern day Wonder Woman back before the digital age, all the social media and all that break. We had the Wonder Woman who didn't use airplanes, but obviously now it's like the modern day Wonder Woman. I think it's a perfect name, and it really, really, really suits you. So,
and I love it, and you know, it gives me an opportunity to, like, I call myself the original Wonder Woman because that's where the brand originated, you know, and I find it quite fun, right? You know, like Wonder Woman. But for me, it's really like all of us have these similar Wonder Woman capabilities, and I know that I've seen and experienced in my work that when I see women finding their own Wonder Woman, you know, it's really beautiful. So the brand just gives me more flexibility to play with things. And also, you know, it's the creative part, right? Especially because I'm so visual and I'm on social media, you know, the brand, like it has its own voice that is like bigger than I am. So
it's
really
like the Wonder Woman tribe. You do have a kind of a tribe already around you. You have a Facebook group. You have podcasts every week. You have a book out. So tell me a little bit about those. What is it that you have out at the moment? Start from the book is good.
Yeah, so basically, if you think about really today, what this is all about is sharing content that is shaping how people think. That's like the almost the baseline where I work from. Like, I want to help you to maybe entertain different emotions and different thoughts. I want people to see my content and be like, oh, okay. And like stop and be like, am I doing that? Should I change something? So for me, like, there's different vehicles to do that. So podcast is great because a lot of people listen to podcasts, especially in London, we commute a lot. So podcast is great. So I do that. That's for free every week around personal development. Now I just spoke about healing. I have guests as well. So there's like a variety of topics from like more, you know, healing's pretty out there, but then I have like, you know, how to actually hack your growth. Like there's like variety of topics. Sorry. Go on.
And your podcasts are in Spotify, Apple, and
SoundCloud. And it's called Good Vibes Only. So I'm always about good vibes. So that's that. The Facebook group really is, as you mentioned, there's a tribe. So that's for women. So Wonder Woman Tribe, where I provide once a week, I provide a free masterclass. And that is very much around that leadership, confidence, personal power that I mentioned earlier. And again, I want to create this space. If you think about the podcast, anyone can listen to that. But when we come to my like communities, you know, like these things and my work as well, is I want to create spaces for women where they can be authentically themselves. So you know this very well, and I'm not sure how this is in creative like environments, but like sometimes we women are so judgmental of other women that for me there is no space for that in the Wonder Woman kind of umbrella. So I want to be like, I am the creator and facilitator of a space that is super inclusive, that is fun, but like, you know, these women are like ambitious and smart, but we are very supportive of each other. And I think this is still something we don't talk enough of. So like, I want to be cheering other women. I want to be like, you go girl, great work. And there's no judgment. So we come to my Facebook group, and every, like all of my group programs, anything, is just very much like, you are welcome the way you are. To me, you are always perfect the way you are now. So
I find it like that judgmental part is really interesting, as I always heard about it and I experienced it before, but then like within the arts, it actually is quite surprising that maybe it is the battle against the women and the men and you know, the basic thing that the women and the men in every industry and in any business have, that women try to find their place and equality and blah blah blah. But in arts, I feel that the women artists, they really keep it together. They really support each other. I was actually really amazed when we started the Women Artists for Global Network. It kind of like revealed itself so fast how supportive, like deeply supportive women are towards each other, and it's incredible. It is empowering. It is astonishing, and it is admirable. Like I truly admire the women out there. So it's fantastic. But not to say that that is the truth also out there, that, you know, there's backstabbing and all sorts of like normal human stuff. But in your tribe, this is like, it's the sisterhood and togetherness. And if I was a person who wanted to find your tribe on example Facebook, how would I go to do that?
So it's just called the Wonder Woman Tribe, and by that you can see, and then there's my name, Anna Kuusela. I think it's Wonder Woman Tribe by Anna Kuusela. So, but I'm happy to provide you with a link that you can put in the subtitles. But I'd also like to, like you said something very important there that I'd just like to elaborate on. So I just want to be very clear when it comes to my work. I always say us Wonder Women love men, because we need men also to be successful, and we desire men to support us. What I would say though is it's very important to be asking the right questions, right? So for me here, this isn't about the rise of women and the fall of men, like there is no such thing. But for me, this is more about, for us women, to finding a new way of being and living and working in our society. Because the thing is that if you step back and you look at the models that we have currently in place, they are very masculine in nature and very patriarchal. So what I want to do is I want to help women to really kind of galvanize their own strengths and look into themselves and be like, you know what? I'm really good at this stuff. How can I now let this stuff surface in a way that empowers me? Because I see a lot of women being like, they are very feminine in, like, you know, in their being, and then they are trying to like glue like this masculine. I'm like, that's why I always say, like, you don't need to like be me or anyone else. Like, you need to be more you. So for me, really, what I'm trying to share here is that this is more about almost teaching women to think for themselves and trust themselves, so that they can then be the best version of themselves in the world, and not just copying. Because a lot of the stuff we see now, you know, with these masculine models is like, we need to change the dialogue, right? And we need to be able to have more dialogue and facilitation and more like just compassion overall, and us women are in a key position to bring that. So that's why I want to like enrich the current situation, rather than being like, you know, yeah, men that way and then we do this. Like, it's not about that. So I hope you understood some of that like madness. But it's just important to notice that really this is about, when women are happier and being themselves, also men will be happier. So, you know, it's like a win-win situation for everyone.
True. That is actually really interesting, the masculine and feminine. I think especially at the art world, when we talk about women artists, it is it's a complex issue, because art, like the basis of art is extending yourself into, example, a visual form. Let's talk about like visual arts. So if I'm a painter, how do I extend myself? I create. So I put it in the painting. I put it in, like, out there. But then when we talk about the masculine and the feminine, there comes the complexity that, am I as a painter able to show my vulnerability? And am I able to make it in this drastic world, like all ripped open, truthful? Or do I have to like secure myself and have that masculine up front? And how does that actually affect my art? So now we talk like, now we go into like something like really fragile and juicy at the same time, as masculine and feminine in the art is just not like, it's not only a question, it's also a question about extending yourself in your artistic abilities. So it's a really, really interesting subject.
Very interesting. And you know what comes to mind now is,
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, like when you're creating, like which one is it? What energy is the creative energy? Where does the creative juice come from? Is it feminine or masculine? Think about this.
It's a really tough question.
So think about where life is born. Where does life come from?
But obviously that is the femininity, like that.
Yeah, the feminine. So the feminine is very creative. The feminine is very like flowy and nurturing, like creativity is there. And all of us, let's just be clear, like all of us have feminine and masculine energies. But maybe it is that, you know, when it comes to art, like there is more of that feminine energy present. Now, when you say that, when you need to like, because the art is like, although if you're doing you're doing your painting, I don't know if those beautiful paintings behind you are yours, but when you're doing that, it's like, it's kind of outside you, but it's an extension of you, right? It's like, it's part of you. So when you're doing it, you're in a, maybe it's that the feminine energy, but when you go out there and showing yourself, you know, you need more masculine energy to be like presenting your work and like putting it out there. And that might be the part where, depending on your primary energy, you might feel very vulnerable. Yes. Because if you need to be masculine when you're out there, but actually you're very comfortable in your feminine energy when you're creating, those are like two different sides that acknowledging that and starting to work with those energies so that they benefit you. That's like an interesting, you know, bridge to walk, right?
Yes, I did. If personally, if I would have to say, when I do, like when I create artwork where I put in the healing aspect. Mm-hmm. So when I when I create from the source, I think that is me creating very feminine. And I had an exhibition in Berlin, 2016, a solo exhibition, the alternate universe, and that was all about healing and like the real deep, truthful, spiritualistic, and also maybe a little mixture of the motherhood and all that kind of aspects that really ripped me open. But then even like I, as an artist, like as a person, I'm extremely sensitive and I'm extremely vulnerable, but you will never see it because I'm one of those people who will cut that sensitive side out from the world and only show it to very, very few because of many reasons. So maybe if I think of like other kind of like androids that I created, etc., those would be much more masculine and they have a lot of sexuality and nudity. So it's interesting, the question. I know artists who create from the vulnerability, like, and who use that as the strength, which I'm blown away with that. It's beautiful. So I know artists, and then I know like really masculine women who use that masculinity. But it's a good question. I believe as long as you're truthful for yourself and as long as you are truthful to the art that you create, whatever it is, and if you are able to push it outside to the audience and the audience accepts it, then like there's always a communication. So then, yeah, it's a really good question. It makes me go like this, and I'm
yeah. But you know what, and something you're saying now, like this other thing kind of emerges to me, that is around like, why do people buy art? Like, when does someone buy a piece of art? It's clearly when they see it, there's an emotional, like, it's not though, like they feel something, right? So we never buy, like, we know this as women, like, why do we buy shoes? It's not because we need another pair of shoes. We buy those because it's just like, I just need that pair. I don't have those shoes. You know? So it's like, I'm just comparing shoes to arts, but, you know, bear with me. So, you know, it's this idea of like, when you see something, you know, it evokes an emotion and you want to buy it. So I'd like to challenge you to say, you said that, you know, about this beautiful Berlin exhibition that you had, and you were like, you know, like, I was so vulnerable, and, you know, you talk about motherhood and like how you put yourself out there. And then you're like, and then I close this off when I talk about this to my audience. It's like, well, you know what? Like sometimes, like the lens you can put on your art and how you can share about this journey you've just had, don't you think that that creates an emotional bond with the audience? And when they look at the art, you've just like put on more intensity on the emotion. So, you know, like what I'm trying to say is, of course, I think there's a part in arts where it's like, let's leave it to the audience to kind of figure out what this means to them. But like understanding where the artist comes from, like surely it adds the intensity. So can you see what I'm saying here is that, you know, because we purchase based on emotional factors only. Like if anyone claims anything else, they are lying. So, you know, like adding on that, like share what you've just shared your journey. I'm like, can I just see that Berlin exhibition, please? Because I'm now like super excited about, like, you know, you rip yourself open and put it into that work. It's like, show me that, you know? So therefore, like, show me you, right? Because this is where we come into the juicy part. It's like, people are interested in people. Like, yeah, sure, there's arts, but people are interested in people. People love stories. People love, you know, like hearing these things. So I think when it comes to artists and creatives, it's like, when you share something about yourself that is so vulnerable, and when people see, because you can't lie about vulnerability, you know, if you're not being honest, people sense that. So when you're authentically sharing your vulnerability, you know, your audience and your people will connect with that, because that's so like that, you know, I'm like getting goosebumps now, because you know, the emotion.
Tears.
Yeah, but you know, that's the emotion, and that's what we are here for, right? And when it comes to arts, it's the emotion, it's the experience. So I would just like to challenge you to do less of like, let me close myself and only show myself to a few people, because, you know, I think you would benefit hugely if you just, you know, sorry, I just started coaching you a little bit, but I couldn't.
No, I think it's beautiful. And this is really funny, because this is like some of the questions I've been battling the other days as I was ill and I was doodling away and doing lots of abstract and stuff. And I've been pushing and throwing these questions. So even though we're not here to talk about me or my art, it actually is just replied to some questions that I've had. This is really, really funny that I've had been going on for days, and
it's good.
And
everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. So, you know, this was it's perfect time to have this conversation.
I know, it's funny and it's very emotional. So if I start to like tear away, it's just because of that. You're touching.
That's
like,
great. That's great, because again, like, this is one thing that I want to say. If you have a lot of women in the audience, it's like, we have been made in our societies, in patriarchal societies, if you're crying, it's a sign of weakness. Yes. For you to cry, it's energy. Energy needs to work its way through the body. Like if you have like tears, it's another way for the energy to come out. Like, don't press it in. We are always like, I'll just deal with this later, or maybe never. You know, we just press everything in. It's like, it's your way to deal with energy, that it comes as water through your eyes. It's normal. So I'd like to say to this that, you know, one of my clients said to me, I haven't cried for 4 years. Oh, yes. When did we think that's normal? So let's just now, like women, let's be honest in whatever works for you, but let that energy come through, because this will also serve your work as a creative. You need to be able to, like, you know, that comes out and boom, you know, that's where your creative, you know, force is, right?
The next week they're going to be seeing those wings and like...
I can't wait.
The Anna factor. So, okay, but I have to say that now I understand that, like, the Wonder Woman like effect that you have on people. So even if we're just like chatting and talking, it kind of like really comes through, and it actually really guides. So even if we haven't, like, even if we haven't like gone into the ways that you work, obviously by just speaking with you and being like in your presence, some of the like those like really important like deep issue things, they just like start unfolding and coming out, and suddenly it kind of feels okay. It doesn't feel like, okay, well, I'm just gonna start like dropping here. It's just fine. So it's
thank you so much.
it's very interesting.
But you know what, like I thank you for saying that, because it means the world to me that people say that, because like this is one of the things in all of my work, and I'm just going to share this now, is that you know, I don't know your truth. I don't know what is your answer, but because I can see you from here and I can really see you, I look at you, and I can, like, as you said, like guide you, and I can ask you some questions, right? I don't know your answer, but I can help you to see which way to look, right? And this is where the magic is, because sometimes, you know, you're in the box. You can't, like, you know, you're in the box. I look at the box from the outside and I'm like, let's look at this thing, you know? And that's why the power of whatever you want to call it, like coaching or mentoring or having someone external, isn't it important? So you can get another point of view into yourself, and you can get another reference point. And actually, we are so, as women, we are so harsh to judge ourselves so quickly, and our negative self-talk is something like that should be banned. That for me to be like, oh, that's interesting, let's just see what you just said. Sometimes we don't even notice that, yeah, I've been saying that for myself for 20 years. So that's why I really appreciate what you just said, because it again is a testimonial for me that my work is needed.
Yes.
You know, that I can be of service, because this is what I'm here to do. I'm here of service to everyone else, for women to fulfill their potential, you know.
Yes,
that's my work.
It's the authenticity, because you so often you have people who listen to you. You so often have people who guide and come up with like, oh, step 1 to Z, and then do it. But then when you actually have like that like honest connection with a person. So now I understand. Now I understand why the Wonder Woman tribe is growing so much, as there's as much as you can see on everything that you speak. And I have to say, I really love. I love having your stuff on my feed on all over the social media. I really enjoy watching it, and it kind of it has that, like, I allow myself a moment to lay back and just listen to what you have to say, and very often it touches. So there's that one side, but then when you actually talk like person to person, there's that something like there's that something more, which is just beautiful. It's lovely. Love it. Like, yeah, I love it.
And don't you, sorry, I have this cough is not leaving me alone this week, but
Me too.
don't you think that we just crave that human to human connection, you know?
Yes.
And it's so much more important these days with all these phones and social media. We just crave being with people and really seeing people for who they are, you know? And this is like, with me, you are just perfect the way you are, and we just try to make you even more you. That's what I love to do.
I love it. So how does it work when you do your events? Like, let's talk about the events that you do. Like, if you are a speaker and you have like a group of women, what are those kind of like events? As thinking, if an artist would want to have something extra in there, like example, confidence, etc., and we can talk about those. Or should we talk about those first and then talk about the events and the personal things?
Well, so if we think about, maybe it's easiest to approach it this way. So in my Wonder Woman tribe, I want to give opportunities for people to join the Wonder Woman tribe from a place of where they are. So this comes back to myself when I was in my 20s. I'm like, if I had that, wow, you know? So I want to give like that opportunity for people to like start to develop their independent thinking, because that for me is huge, and start to lead their lives so that they can positively impact others, leadership. So there's like that side. Then I always do like a little group courses around confidence and things like this. And then at the far end, there's one-on-one coaching. So say that you now wanted to radically kind of do a quantum leap somewhere, I can help you with that. And then when it comes to events, it's like there's nothing as being present with people, right? So I like to put all of this into events as well. And it's not just like, I'm not like your boring speaker who's just like, you make a few notes and then tomorrow you don't even remember what you did last night. But like for me, it's all about transformation. So I want to like inspire and empower change. So in all of this, what I do is like, yeah, as you said earlier, when you see me, you're like, oh, let me listen what she has to say. Yeah, that's part A. Part B is that you go and do the stuff, you know? So in my work, whatever it is, if it's a live event or if it's my online stuff, it's like thinking only gets you so far. You need to start putting things into action. So I'm trying to combine the mindset, like, you know, that something kind of like clicks together with more practical stuff that you can actually have useful things that work for you that you implement in your daily life, so you can start to see how things change. Because in the end, you know, it's these daily things that you do that then, you know, add up to being a big change in the long run. So so that's why there's always variety of change things going on. So it's really like my website's a good place to see what's currently happening, because, you know, in Wonder Woman there's always a lot of things happening.
Yes, you talk about the future leaders and movers and shakers. How did that go? So what are the typical women who come to you, or are the typical women any women?
Yeah, great question. So indeed, I say that I serve future female leaders and movers and shakers. And now I know a lot of women are like, yeah, but I'm not the leader because I'm not the CEO. I don't have a team. I'm like, okay, let's just stop there for a moment. If you want to lead your own life, and by the way, a lot of people don't actually do that, but that's another conversation, might take an hour. But if you want to lead your own life and positively impact others, you are a leader.
Yeah.
Everyone's a leader. And recognizing that you are a leader, then you're my ideal customer, because you're like, actually, I want to do something meaningful in my life. Like, I take responsibility of myself. Yeah. And that for me is a recognition of like, there's Wonder Woman capability there, because a lot of people, I'm sure you see this, is like, oh, those people are so difficult, or like, yeah, I can't do that because, you know, this happened to me, or like, I just don't have. These people know, like, if you think that you're a victim or you're constantly blaming others, can't help you there. So women who can work with me and who come to the Wonder Woman tribe are like, they might be like tired of this shit. Yeah. And they're like, let me do something about this. Or they're like, I want more. And I know I am in charge of my own life. So these women like really kind of want to grab life by the horns and make changes. And it might be a bigger change or a smaller change, but these women, like, I think, accept the responsibility that, you know, this is your life. Like, what are you going to do with that?
So it's like anybody who feels and hears the calling, they can actually approach you. And if they feel they are not quite sure if they would be the ideal whoever, whatever's, they can just come and have a chat with you, and you can tell if there is something you can do for them, or like what is it out there.
Of course. And you know, like in my Facebook Wonder Woman tribe, the Facebook group, like not everyone there is like my paying customer, you know. A lot of people, they want to be there because they feel like they just like, you know, their Friday inspiration and just something, food for thought and all of that. So absolutely. And for me, it's I think it's maybe what I'd say on that, if you're thinking like, oh, I would need some help on that. And I think Anna would be able to help me. I think that's a strong indicator that we should be working together, because you're acknowledging that actually I need some support. And for many people, it can sometimes be hard because us women, I don't know if you recognize this, I'm going to do everything by myself.
I drop my head for that.
Yeah, but I'm always like that. I'm like, I'm fine by myself. So, if you kind of acknowledging that, yeah, I'd like some support, like, that's a good place to start. So, yeah, but there's multiple ways to kind of get familiar with what I do and see if you like the vibe. It's always good vibes, if that's your vibe. And then just see what's always happening, because there's some things like I mentioned, different products might be that they are not available at the moment, or then later they are. So I'm still a one-woman show, so I need to make sure that all of my existing clients are happy before I add new ones, right? So that's kind of basis of my service.
Yes, but it's very much like the masculine stuff to go, I can do everything myself. And the feminine stuff to admit that actually it's okay to ask for help. And maybe sometimes, quite often, it would be clever to add other people on as well. But yes, but I love it. I love it. So if I now wanted to do stuff with you, I could just go to Facebook, I could listen to your podcast and that book. What is the Wonder Woman Playbook about?
Oh, yeah. So the Wonder Woman Playbook, I haven't mentioned that yet, have I?
I know.
So that came out in 2018, which now seems like a lifetime ago, but about a year and a half ago. So, so that was after I left my consulting job. And, there's a lot of people who ask about moving abroad and working in a very male-dominated field of like consulting is. And I thought to myself, you know what, so many people ask about this, I'll just put it in a book. And I can tell you, I had a massive kind of conversation with myself. I can't write because I'm not a writer, but that again is a different story. Well, I worked my way past that. So my belief was not supportive of what I wanted to do. So I worked my way through that. And then I just wrote the book, and it's quite a short read. So which people compliment a lot. So there's 10 chapters around my habits of making me unstoppable. So I talk about what I just said around, how to work in a male dominated field, and how to, how travel has enriched my life, how I see being a foreigner in a culture, and how I can make that serve me. So it's very, very much like my experience, and hoping that will support others. And it's self-published through Amazon. So it's available on Amazon, just to make it easier for me to spread the message. So it's a fun thing. And I actually writing a book is quite a creative endeavor. So I wish to do that again in the future. So it's on the cards, and now I'm said it aloud. So clearly it must happen at some point.
Make it come out.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love this whole discussion, and this. I think I now understand also more of the stuff that you do, not only by the talking, but actually having that like feeling inside. That's like a personal touch. So I wasn't quite expecting that. But thank you for this. I feel very humble.
Thank you. Oh, I love that. And isn't it wonderful when you have an experience that after that you're forever changed? You know? And this for me is like when something changes like that, it can then have an impact into your daily life, and that's really what I'm after. So I'm really honored. Like, thank you for sharing that, but also like thank you for having this discussion with me and being so open.
Thank you for bringing it out, because it's not many times I would open myself in this concept of
so what do we learn from this? Maybe you need to do that more, because clearly it's yielding something very positive. So maybe this is a sign.
Yes, well, I'm definitely, I am already on the Wonder Woman tribe, but I'm going to become a good tribe member.
Yeah, thank you, because it's hard sometimes, I'm like holding the torch by myself. So all the support I can get, I embrace it. So bring it on, sister.
Perfect.
We happy?
Yes. Speechless.
Well, that's fine. And if there's any other questions, like people can always they can find me, like I'm everywhere, right?
Yes.
My website, podcasts everywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, like I'm everywhere. So, and people can see my name, so you can find me and ask more questions if you wish.
Yeah, I'm on like these soft movements and the pastel colors. So my mind is already like, it was like left the building. I already think of the canvas and like trying to stop that thinking pattern. Like, okay, let's just keep yourself focused like a little bit more. But my mind is already like moved to the vulnerable painting. And it's like back in Berlin, like a couple of years ago. But yes. No, I would love to just say thank you so much. This has been really interesting, and I'm sure all the women out there, why not? I was going to say why not men as well. Do you take men? If a man would want to be like, if a male would want to work with you, would you just go, okay, you're more than welcome? But like, no.
No, of course. So clearly, like the thing is that if I talk about my crew programs, they are women only, because having only women establishes a safe space, and I want to keep it that way. So then I'll probably say, I'm sorry, I can't help you in that capacity in that group, but we can explore another avenue. So yeah, absolutely. Currently there's no men, so this is quite interesting, and maybe I'll be on the lookout for those. And yeah, like why not?
Yeah, like, how open you are for everything.
Yeah, and for me it's women are, it's very like, that's in my niche, like that's important for me. But yeah, I'm if someone believes that Anna, like you're the person who can really help me, yeah, come and see me and we'll talk. So absolutely.
Perfect. So women can contact you via Facebook, via your website, annakuusela.com.
LinkedIn.
I'll put all the social media links out there.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here with me and sharing this moment and giving a little guidance. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where the Wonder Woman tribe will go, because I've seen it growing, and I see how you're like Wonder Womaning it all over the globe, and always on the move and always on the go and always doing something new and exciting. And there's always, it's something that always changes. It's not like, that is what I like. Wonder Woman is not just like one narrow road, but it changes and it moves and it shakes, just like your guidance on teaching.
Absolutely. And just like me, we are ever growing and evolving. So the brand kind of grows with me, because I am still at this point, I am the brand. So that's why it's exciting, as you said, like we'll see where it goes. Yeah, I'm as excited as you are, because I don't know yet. And that's the beauty of life, that not everything we must know. I'll just let it unfold as it does, and I don't need to architect everything. For me, I'm here to serve others. I'm here to make sure that I use my gifts to my best possible capability, and then we'll see what happens as a result of that.
Beautiful.
Very simple, hey?
Hey. Well, thank you so much, Anna Kuusela, for sharing this moment, and all the best for the future. And I'm absolutely positive we haven't heard it all yet, so there's so much more to come.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming.
You made a hair haircut.